Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with another knitting podcast of Mipi Makes. In the near future I'm actually planning a lot of YouTube videos. This is gonna be crochet tutorials, sewing tutorials, behind the scenes of my brand finally. And then also knitting tutorials probably. And I'm also working on a knitting pattern. So basically so many exciting things, so if that's something that interests you, you can subscribe to my channel to stay in a loop. And that would be really fun because I'm trying to create kind of a creative community here online and I would really like to have you here with me. But anyways, I did a lot of knitting and so I will get started with the first finished object. This is the Cardigan number 6 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's a lacework cardigan. It looks so much more complicated than it is, but it's, I believe, a repeat of like 6 rows, and once you get started, probably from here on, you have it memorized and it's just super easy from that point. So you can imagine when you knit an entire cardigan, I could knit this while watching television. That's how it is. This one is knit on 6mm needles. I knit it in long yarns Regina, which I've now sold the leftovers so I don't have it to show you. And I held 2 strands of mohair, which I've also sold. Because it turns out I have a little bit of a sensitivity to mohair. I am wearing this, but I think because it's a cardigan and so I wear it on top of something, it's fine. Anyways, so that's the cardigan. I don't know about my gauge because of course I didn't swatch. I do feel like my sleeves are bigger than the original pattern intended. But I do really love this one. I will come up closer so you can really see. And I found a video, I believe on Instagram, that makes a stretchy bind off, but like super simple. So that's what I did. It's just binding off in pattern, but then before you bind off, knitting them together, and it makes it really stretchy. And you know about my bind off rant from last video, I want it to be quick. So it's a really nice one and I will try to link it down below if you're looking for something. Now we can get started with all of the other finished objects that I have. This one is 99% finished because I still have some ends to weave in. Usually I'm really good about it, but for this one I don't really feel like doing it. This is the Diva Sweater from Filcolana. It's a free pattern. I didn't make too many adjustments. I did gauge swatch after I started a drop sweater that just absolutely turned out humongous. That's when I finally learned my lesson to swatch, so I did make a swatch. And based on that swatch I stopped doing the raglan increases from about here, just because I didn't want to make a huge sweater. So you can actually see there that it looks a little bit different and the shape kind of goes around it, but I think it's fine. This was also my first time doing like increases on the shoulder to create a puff detail, which was so easy and I really love the way that it looks, so it's something that I honestly want to add onto everything now that I know how to do it. I also just love these sleeves that they flare out. I knit this in like a lace weight baby alpaca from a cone that I've also sold. Then silk mohair from Gazzal that I've showed before. Like a twist sock yarn from wool with verve, the hand-dyed yarn. I showed the yarn in the last video during a haul. I really love this sweater and I really like how it turned out. It was knit on 5mm needles and I knit this in a week. So it's super easy and just so much stockinette. I'm actually an English knitter, but in plain stockinette I can knit continental. I've taught myself recently, so I'm not too great at it yet. And it really is only stockinette, so once I have to do purl I'm still like an English knitter. The next finished object I did show in my last podcast, and it's this little bucket hat that I kind of came up with the pattern myself. It's just like a granny square circle on top, then daisy granny squares that kind of have like more on the bottom and less on the top, so it creates more of a like a different shape that fits your head well. I don't know how to describe it. And then a little edge with a white trim. Totally copied and inspired by Another Stories. I will insert a picture and then you can see that this is the knockoff version. I will wear it. I'm always wearing a headband, but for you I will put it on top of it. Now, for me this is not something that I would just go outside and wear this. Maybe when it's super hot out and I'm wearing like overalls and my Birkenstocks and then this hat, I think that would be a funny look. I made this to just wear on my roof terrace because I like to sit there and knit or read a book, and I like to have the sun out of my eyes. Works well for that purpose, and I think it looks cute. And I'm not a big fan of the baseball caps or anything, so this is it. And I want to make a tutorial about it. I just have to find the time and some suitable yarn. And I have another crochet project tutorial coming up, which I will talk about later. The next finished object are my first pair of socks. I actually cannot believe that I managed to make a sister for my socks. For some reason I just felt like it was gonna take me a long time to make another pair. Because once you finish the first one, it's kind of like doing the same thing all over again. Not kind of, it is literally doing the same thing all over again. So I didn't know if I was gonna have the motivation for it. But then I went on a long car trip and then they just flew off the needles. So these are the Kissing Kate socks from Drops. So they have this lace pattern. I don't know how you call this, but I believe this is a pretty regular way to do gusset, I believe. Then these toe decreases. I basically knitted up to pattern. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the last video, but the first sock that I made a bit too small. So after finishing the second sock, I actually ended up ripping back the first one from the toe decreases, then adding about a centimeter, and then doing the toe decreases again, because I also did them wrong. So it created a really scrunched up feeling. I keep showing it to people like, look, I made socks, and people don't really get the excitement. Like, I'm really proud of myself that I made socks. And I really never expected that I would be a sock knitter, so it's interesting how life goes. This is knit in the durable soqs yarn. It's really affordable. It's 25% polyamide and the rest is wool. And I still have this left. So I could use it for the toes or maybe another project, an accessory held with some other yarn. So those were all of my finished objects. Now I only have one current whip to show you, and I'm really working on this one very monogamously. So I'm gonna show you that one, and it's not a pattern. It's actually my own design that I'm working up, and so far it's going well. I don't have too many adjustments planned for it. So let me show you. This is gonna be a beautiful cardigan pattern, and yeah, I'm calling it beautiful because I think the design is very beautiful. The inspiration that I have is from like the vintage Aran kind of cardigans, and also Doen, they do a lot of these type of cardigans. So I kind of came up with my own little pattern for that with different kinds of cables, and then a bubble pattern, twisted cable. Yeah. Then here with the, because it has raglan increases, I didn't mention that. It's actually symmetrical. And I haven't decided yet if I like it to be symmetrical or if I want it to be different, but then I would have to adjust the entire lace pattern. I think each size, the end result of the cardigan will look different, but I also have another method that I can do, because after this it will have like a seed stitch going from the underarm to a little bit of the body and a little bit under the sleeves, if that makes sense. So like this part, like that, will have some seed stitch. And that's also a really good place to add extra stitches. Now, before anyone gets too excited about this, I kind of have this planned to have it finished around winter time, because I know knitting patterns to launch this and have them tested can take a really long time. And also after this one, I'm probably gonna knit another one to finalize it. So it's gonna be a long time before it's finished, I think. But I'm really excited about it. I started it, there's like, I don't know, I keep knitting my own hair in this one. It's honestly annoying. But I started it this week, so this is how far I've gone, and I just need to do a few more rows and then I can split for the sleeves. So yeah. I'm knitting this one in Drops Karisma yarn and Drops brushed alpaca silk. And I'm using Drops yarn because it's super accessible to a lot of people. So I felt like this would be the best decision, and it's also affordable for myself as a test knit. Oh, and the colors you can see, it's like a sandy dusty rose. I will put the information in the description if you want to know. And now we can get on to all of the yarn acquisitions. So basically this video is just a giant yarn haul. I have acquired a lot of yarn, which was not planned, but it's because I sold a bunch of my yarn because of my change in projects, and also some yarns I just didn't really like. And now I have all new yarns and plans and projects. So yeah, sorry about that. If you don't like it, you can skip this and I will see you next time. The first yarn that I got is Drops North and a light pink color. And I got this to knit a second pair of socks. I do have one other sock yarn, but I just felt like getting the Drops yarn because I'm gonna use a Drops pattern. It's really nice that those patterns from Drops are free online, just because I'm new to sock knitting and I don't want to get a pattern and then not be happy with it. And they have quite a few patterns that are knit on a 3mm needle, which I use these ones with a short cable. And it just goes really quickly, so that's something that I am going to cast on soon. But for now I'm really focusing on that cardigan, so I haven't really felt the cast on feelings yet. Then the next project that I have planned very soon is going to be the Menuet from MCL Tricot Design. I talked about it in the last video, that I got this yarn for that, which, still looking at this yarn, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. You can just see all of those colors. I absolutely adore this yarn. But now I finally got the yarn that I will hold it with. In the original pattern she uses silk mohair. Now I'm obviously not gonna use that anymore. So I got this. And this is like one of my favorite colors. I mean, there's a pattern going on. And I think it will look really nice with this. I wanted something more pink to kind of bring out the pinks in this. I didn't want to go too far on the purple side. And this is so far one of the nicest mohair alternatives that I found. It's incredibly soft. This is Mayflower Elba, the brushed Surrey alpaca. It's probably also soft because it's Surrey alpaca and it's just a different breed. I'm not too sure about it. And it's really nice because you get 250 meters on this, so you really don't need a lot. And it's also very cost effective. I believe they're around €4 per ball, which is the same price as Drops mohair silk. So that's a little tip for you if you are also a little bit sensitive to mohair. The next project that I have is gonna be a crochet tutorial on my channel, and it's a giant basket filled with scrap yarn, yarns that I'm not using. And it's gonna be a crochet sweater inspired by Sea New York. It was from 2 years ago, and I remember one of my favorite at the time bloggers posted about it, and I absolutely loved that sweater. Could not afford it because it was $400 something, so obviously to this day I still love that sweater, but I don't have that sweater. The colors also are just exactly my cup of tea. Yellow, brown, white, pink and purple, just basically perfection. So I got all of the yarns that I have and I don't have plans for together, also in those similar colors. Then went to my local yarn shop and got some of these. So these are going to be some of the main colors. Well, this is going to be the main color, but these also are in there, so I just got one of those. So this is the Gazzal wool 115, and it's made in Turkey and is 100% superwash merino fine wool, and it's super soft. So I want to use this in that project. I'm not gonna share too much about it because later today I'm gonna start filming the tutorial. Then the last acquisition that I have is maybe a little bit boring, but it is very handy. And it's this little tool. It's a cable that you, well, there's actually a good image on the background. I don't know if you can see. But you put it on your needle and then you can slip your stitches to the little cable. And then you can try on your project whilst you're knitting on it. And it goes up to a needle size 6mm. So I'm really happy to have this, especially after the drops sweater fiasco where it was just like 3 times the width of my body. This is something that is like essential, so I can try it on. So I actually should do it for the little sweater that I have. Now that I have this, I didn't even think of that. So if you also didn't know about it, I would really recommend that. Those were all of the things that I had to show you for today's podcast. I kind of sped through everything because I know people like to have it more short, these podcasts. Not everybody has the time to watch a 30-minute video. In the future I will have a knitting podcast every 2 weeks, just so I can talk about the projects maybe a little bit in more detail, and also you will see the process a little bit more because I'm quite a fast knitter. So like for example with this sweater, you didn't see it in the last knitting podcast because I made it in a week. It just suddenly appeared out of nowhere, and I think if I make a podcast every 2 weeks it will maybe be a little bit better, and yeah, I think it will just be better. That's what I'm trying to say. I hope you all enjoy your day, enjoy the sun, the weather, some outdoor knitting, because it's finally the perfect time for it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!